Hello and welcome back to the Star Family Wisdom Podcast. I'm Jenna, your host. I'm also the founder of Star Family Wisdom. Star Family Wisdom is a paradigm shifting podcast community and modern day mystery school for your spiritual and cosmic evolution. And a few years ago, I was guided to leave my role at Whole Foods Market as a global vice president of merchandising operations to embark on this incredible journey of spiritual transformation and share that with you. So today's episode is an audio only episode. I'm quickly preparing for the next week ahead as I have a surprise visit from my mother, which I'm excited about. I'm in Sedona. She's in Oklahoma, and she hasn't been able to come to Sedona that often since I've been here. And we've been working on our healing journey. I think any parent-child relationship has certain things, about it that we're working to harmonize. And so we've been on that journey, and it's been a beautiful journey. And, she's not always been the most spontaneous person in life. And so it's been a really beautiful thing to witness her healing as my healing has occurred. I think anytime we're really focusing on ourselves and changing our inner world, changing our perspective, softening, releasing, that's going to affect the people around us. And I've seen that firsthand over the last few years as I've been really focused on this work, and I'm seeing her benefit from it. And this week we were talking about a meteor shower that's happening this weekend. And she decided she would be spontaneous and come visit. So I'm so excited to have her with me this weekend. We're going to watch the meteor shower and go outside and be in nature together. So it's going to be an awesome weekend. So I'm quickly preparing for that. But today's episode is about psilocybin and plant medicine. And we're going to have Marguerite Rigiolioso on the podcast soon. She's the founder of Seven Sisters Mystery School. We've had her on the podcast before. If you didn't check out that episode, go back to it. There's a link in the show notes. It was an awesome conversation. And we're going to be talking about plant medicine and the role of plant medicine in ceremony and in our spiritual transformation and evolution process. And to prepare for that episode, I thought I would share a little more about my experiences with it. I haven't shared a lot on the podcast about plant medicine and my use of plant medicine, or what I've done without plant medicine. And I've talked a lot about shamanic journeys and some of these, extraordinary experiences I've had, both meeting ETs, experiencing visitations and regression states, and accessing altered states of consciousness for the purpose of identifying past life wounds, past life trauma, past life patterns that might be playing out in this life. So I've gone really deep in the journeying process, and I haven't always been clear on the fact that most of that has been without the use of plant medicine. So I want to talk a little bit about both experiences and what I now know to be possible. This is also not a recommendation to use plant medicine. Everyone's journey is sacred. Everyone's journey is their own. There are, certain aspects of plants that are very sacred and can bring us into communion with the world of nature and with the plant realm when used properly. So this is certainly not an educational session about how to use plant medicine properly. If that is something you desire, if that is something you are curious about, there are amazing resources out there that will help you really understand how to utilize plant medicines in the most therapeutic, ceremonial ways. And we'll be talking about some of that with Marguerite soon. So this is really just about my personal experience. And I'm also living in an area where certain plant medicine is legal or decriminalized. So that's a thing too. But it's interesting that for so many years it was criminalized, right? Like we were very specifically blocked from utilizing plants that do expand our consciousness and help us tap in to altered states of consciousness where we can commune with the world of spirit, where we can access parts of ourselves that maybe we didn't have access to before. So I had a question from someone recently that prompted this episode, and the question was, do we need plant medicine to produce altered states of consciousness or transcendental types of experiences? And my answer was no. I've had firsthand experience now utilizing certain spiritual technologies, practices, mantra, yantra processes, working with sacred geometry, learning shamanic journeying techniques. There are a plethora of spiritual practices and technologies that we can employ to access those altered states of consciousness and get ourselves into a state of divine harmony where we can be in communion with the universe, with the world of nature in a much more connected way than we have been on Earth. And so I've experienced both, and I want to talk a little bit about both experiences. Some of you may know, if you've been following along over the last few months, that I've gone really deep in my process of engaging ancient mantras from the Indian palm leaf manuscripts, which were brought to the world by Saint Sri Kaleshwar. This particular mantra system, the mantra systems that he found in the palm leaf manuscripts, are some of the most powerful mantras on earth. These are the root sounds of God. These are the seed sounds of God, the root vibrations or frequencies of God. When we think about what primordial sounds, vibrations give rise to physical reality, and when we think about the frequencies and vibrations that give rise to divine harmony, that's what is contained in these mantras. So I had already had a lot of experiences in altered states of consciousness, connecting with power animals, seeing past life visions, having some experiences interacting with ET beings in those states. I'd already had a lot of those experiences without the use of plant medicine. And I can also say now, after engaging the mantra systems for a period of time in the right way, these systems will absolutely produce some of the same effects of psilocybin. So I'm glad I've experimented a little bit with psilocybin. And I started with microdosing, just very, very small amounts, just to help my system feel a little more love, to be a little more in connection with nature, to have my sensory perception sharpened just a little. And that's, I think, a really good place to start. Like for me, that was perfect. I was a little nervous about going all the way. I was a little nervous about what sort of experience I would have, because I was already having experiences that I was integrating and learning about and processing as I was connecting with psilocybin over the last few years. And I'll say that my first experience using it was when I was 18 in Amsterdam, of all places. I had decided at that age, I had, become a legal age where, going to Amsterdam and smoking marijuana was completely legal. And my boyfriend and I decided that's what we were going to do for New Year's. So we practiced, we trained, if you know what that means. And we went to Amsterdam and we did some mushrooms. We did psilocybin while we were there, and I did not have a good experience. And I was kind of turned off by the idea of doing them until the last few years because of that experience. And that experience was not done in the right setting. It was in a hotel room. It was during this period of, partying around New Year's. I was not particularly comfortable. I didn't really know what to expect. There was certainly no real intention behind it. And I now know that our intention when using plant medicine is so critical. That becomes the way in which the plants, are going to work with us. Like that's how we direct, their, I guess, involvement in our evolution. And so I had an early experience with it that just, was kind of weird. It wasn't fun. It was odd. I didn't feel great on it. And it was also indicative, I think, of the relationship I was in and what was going on at the time, and the fact that I just didn't really feel comfortable in general in that relationship and life. So it will absolutely reflect to us what we need to learn about ourselves and what we need to integrate. So I did not know that at the time. So fast forward many years, and I'm going through my spiritual awakening, and I have a friend who has some and suggests that maybe we do some together, and so I get my hands on some, and I decide that I do want to enhance my ability to reprogram my mind, because I was going through a lot of intense reprogramming of negative beliefs, old trauma, anxiety. And I just wanted a little support in shifting into that state of love and shifting into that state of harmony, and in being able to rewire my neural networks a little quicker. So I started microdosing a little bit for that reason. And I'll also say that as that occurred, I had some really beautiful experiences of connection with nature. One funny one is one afternoon while doing some microdosing, I was doing some food prep for the week ahead, and I was cutting up strawberries. The psilocybin was kicking in a little bit, and I decided I would, taste a strawberry, and the flavors that burst in my mouth were just incredible. And I remember thinking at the time, wow, if love had a taste, it would taste like strawberries. And I've since had a different experience with the blueberries. And for whatever reason, like this just resonates with me, I've now decided that strawberries are the taste of the divine feminine essence of love of the universe, and blueberries taste like the divine masculine essence of love. So that's where we can go on psilocybin. But I share that just for funny purposes. That's like a little sidebar on the journey of psilocybin. But one more profound experience that happened when I took a little more one day, and this again, was in a ceremonial setting, in a sacred setting, for the purpose of doing some integration work, releasing work. And I had a connection with a person that had happened about a week prior to this session. And it was one of those moments where you're engaging with someone, and after the fact, you're kind of wondering how they perceived the engagement. Like you're wondering, what were they thinking about that? Like I know how I perceived it, on their end, what would be going on, right? So I had that question about this interaction with this person. And so I go into this session with the psilocybin. I'm laying down, I'm meditating, I'm just starting to, get into a state where I'm just allowing whatever information to come through that wants to come through. Again, this is done after opening sacred space, creating, spiritual protection, energetic protection, setting an intention. All of that is really important, for a good, supportive, healthy experience. So I'm meditating, I'm just kind of just allowing, whatever wants to unfold. And all of a sudden, I have an experience of seeing the past and also seeing the future. And I know I saw the future because it played out in my life. And I'll share about that in just a moment. So the first thing that happened was I saw the past. And all of a sudden, I pop back to that scene, that setting where I was interacting with this other person, and it was in like an office. So I'm in this office with this person, and the questions I had about how this interaction was unfolding and how this other person was perceiving the interaction got answered. All of a sudden, I was perceiving this entire interaction not as myself anymore. It was almost like I was omnipresent. I was having this experience of being the consciousness of everything in that room. I was myself. I was this other person. I was the table. I was the chairs. I was the carpet. I was the walls. It was wild. I was all of it. And it's hard to even put into words and describe the sensory perception that happens in that state of awareness. And so, and it kind of bounced around. So I was all of it for a few seconds and experiencing kind of all perspectives at once. And then it switched to me experiencing the situation from the other person's point of view. I could hear their thoughts, which was wild. And this was relevant to what would then play out with the future vision. So it was giving me a little information to work with, to help me navigate what was coming. And so I'm experiencing being this other person all of a sudden. And then I'm experiencing being myself again. And then I pop out of that vision. That one's done. And I'm just kind of shocked, like, wow, how did I, even experience all of that? And as a side note, last year we did a podcast episode with PMH Atwater. She has done an incredible amount of research on these sorts of visionary states that can happen. She wrote a book called Remembering the Future, because she's had a lot of spontaneous future visions. She had a number of near-death experiences that led to these quote unquote abilities, turning on for her. So she's, done incredible research on this topic. And I found her research as this was happening, which was an incredible synchronicity to help me understand it better. So then I'm in this journey. All of a sudden, I start having this experience of being with this other person again, but it's something I haven't experienced yet. Like this is, and I very clearly know that this is the future I'm seeing. And I'm seeing myself with this other person in a particular place. And then I'm seeing a conversation that leads up to that moment of being with this person in a particular place. And it was so clear. And I saw myself say certain things to this person, but I only got a snapshot of it. And so I was so confused after this vision, this experience of wondering, well, wow, how would that even play out in real life? Like, we seem so far from that even being a possibility. How would that play out? I think I just saw the future, but how would that play out? And so I just stayed open, and I knew that I would see this other person again soon. And so I just decided, well, there's nothing for me to do, I guess, other than just kind of be aware, be present, be tuned in, just notice if something starts to happen that allows this thing to unfold. And sure enough, it did. It was wild. When I saw this other person again, this person started talking about certain things that just led to the right moment for me to say the exact things that came out of my mouth in that mushroom journey when I saw the future. But it wasn't even like I was trying, like it just happened. And it was like this blur of events where all of a sudden I'm realizing I'm living in the future moment that I saw in the mushroom journey. So this is an example of what's possible. We can reach these sorts of states of consciousness. Also, I should share that happened to me without the help of mushrooms back in like 2020, I think it was, maybe 2019. I had been in a deep meditation, and I'd gotten really practiced in meditation and being able to turn my mind off and get to that place of pure stillness. And I was in that place of pure stillness, and all of a sudden this vision came into my mind's eye of me falling down the stairs in my house. And as soon as I popped out of that vision, I remember, kind of coming out of my meditation and thinking, oh gosh, that was startling. I need to be careful. I don't want that to happen. And then 2 days later, I'm upstairs in my house. This is when I was living in Austin, Texas, and I start walking down the stairs, and all of a sudden the exact events that unfolded in that vision in meditation started to happen. But because I had already seen it play out, it's like it gave me an advantage to be able to very quickly alter the course of events and prevent myself from falling all the way down the stairs. So I did fall, but I was able to catch myself, because it's like my body had this muscle memory of what was going to happen, and it was able to, reflexively move very quickly and alter the events. So I experienced a different version of what could have happened. So I had the experience of seeing something that could have happened for the purpose of being able to alter the course of events to produce a better outcome. So I know I experienced that as, part of my awakening, to give me an example of what's possible and to allow me to understand how our nonlinear time operates and how we can tap into all events in the universe, future and past. And then I started to explore that in my shamanic work for a few years. So some of those experiences led me to going, as far as I could in shamanic practice without the use of plant medicine, to understand this process of journeying to future timelines and journeying to past life, events and that sort of thing. So both are possible, right? We can utilize plant medicine to enhance our perceptual abilities, to allow that sort of information to download in the right timing if it's right for us, and it can happen without it. Absolutely. And, I should also share that, I've had some, experiences of, I guess what I would call, interdimensional communication. I had that start prior to using plant medicine. So I know that sort of heightened kind of telepathic, remote viewing type of, communication is absolutely possible without plant medicine. We can train our brains to get into the right state to receive and to communicate telepathically, and psilocybin can also enhance that as well. So as I've been on this journey of spiritual evolution, enlightenment, experiencing these transcendental states, these heightened states of consciousness, these expanded states of awareness, as I have achieved a certain state of awareness without plant medicine, Then I have intentionally used a little bit of plant medicine to allow me to go to the next level and to experience that in, maybe a different way. So again, I'm being very intentional about how I'm using it, and I'm working with myself to achieve these certain levels of spiritual growth, spiritual awareness, heightened perceptual abilities. I'm working with myself to achieve that on my own without the medicine before I engage the medicine. So it's been important to me to always, be in a place of experimenting, on myself before I'm sharing something with others, having, that firsthand experience. And also, I don't want to shortcut the process, and plant medicine can be a little bit of a shortcut. There's a lot of hype, around ayahuasca and using psilocybin for these intense journeys. And that can be beautiful. It can really crack someone open. Sometimes we need to just be cracked open, and we need a major experience to help us shift our worldview, to help us heal, to help us release, something that has been suppressed. And that's necessary for some of us. And sometimes, a slower, more steady progression is helpful. And that's what I've chosen. I've chosen that, somewhat slow progression. My evolution and experiences have happened at a fairly fast pace, but I've also felt called to just allow that pace to unfold in right timing without going all in on some major experience. Plus, when we do something like ayahuasca, to be able to have a transcendental, really divine experience, we have to have cleared and purged a lot of our negativity that we're carrying in our systems. And a couple of years ago, when I was really deeply engaging the shamanic work, I felt called to ayahuasca, and I was really intent on going to Peru and doing ayahuasca for that purpose of having an experience that would, push me forward in big ways. And then the work I started doing in ceremony and with shamanic practice was, again, moving me into certain expanded states of awareness where all of a sudden I felt like I didn't quite need that. And I started, again, experimenting with the microdosing and some, larger doses of psilocybin here and there for, healing purposes. And I started to realize that, I think for me personally, if I ever do ayahuasca, I still haven't done it, but I think if I ever do it, I would want it to be after I've done a lot of the purging. I don't want to go into an ayahuasca experience and then just be purging the whole time. I want to be able to have a really divine, extraordinary experience. And I've started to, have those experiences too on psilocybin, because I've done so much work to clear the negativity, to purge the negativity, to reprogram my energy field. So now, I think if I did it, it would definitely be a much more beautiful experience. It wouldn't be as much of the purging that we hear about with people doing ayahuasca. It's also interesting to think about, some of these extraordinarily divine experiences that are possible, again, without any use of plant medicine, because I've started to experience those with the help of these ancient mantra systems. And again, I'll say that's after a really solid foundation of deep spiritual practice, deep work on the healing and transformation process to allow those divine energies to just produce the experiences that are right for my consciousness at this time. So, the answer to the question is both are true. We are gifted with the plants for the purpose of enhancing our awareness, for the purpose of remembering divine love, for the purpose of being in connection with nature. And what an incredible gift. What an incredible gift for us to be able to take advantage of. And I also know that it's possible for us to get into that state of consciousness without the use of those plants. The plants are just reminding us of our true state. The plants are just helping us get back there, because it's my opinion that humans once operated in that much more divine state, in that state of what would seem like a magical reality. I was talking with a person about this recently, and he was sharing how, he had had some interesting experiences after doing, a ton of shamanic work and, getting into a really harmonious state and using mantras of wildlife, just interacting with him differently, just being so tame, so calm, so loving towards him. And I thought, yeah, that makes so much sense. If we have gotten ourselves back into that state of connection with nature, into that state of true divine harmony, our interaction with the natural world is going to look a lot different. And I've even started to have some of those sorts of experiences too, with some really incredible animal, types of synchronicities and kind of communication experiences. So I think, the plants are calling to us to come back into that state of divine harmony. They are already operating in that state of divine harmony, that state of divine love, and they're our allies in this journey. Our animal friends, our plant realm friends are all allies for us. And, many indigenous cultures on the planet have known this, right? Like they've looked at, the Western world with such sadness because of our inability to stay connected with nature and really understand that interconnectedness of life. And I think humans, did operate in that much more magical, interconnected way long ago. And we're just being reminded about that now. We're being given an opportunity to remember that. We're being given an opportunity to experience that again. And we're being given an opportunity to figure out how to hold that energy, how to let that be our natural state, right? We've got a lot of work to do to get there and to hold that as our natural state all the time. But the plants are there to support us in it. So, I don't have any big opinions either way. I think everyone's journey is sacred, like I said at the beginning of this episode, and everyone has to follow that path that's right for them. There are many paths to enlightenment. There are many paths to these expanded states of awareness. And there's so many technologies we can use, whether that's mantra systems, ceremony, drumming, sweat lodge, vision quests, sound healing and sound experiments, just pure meditation. We've got a lot of technologies we can use. We've got a lot of practices, a lot of tools at our disposal. I did not even mention all of them. And we've got to take advantage of them, because we're living in a time where we do have easy access to them now. And whether that is plants for you, whether that is mantras, whether that is sound healing, whether that's the physical practice of physical yoga, whatever it is, we're being given this opportunity to remember, which is beautiful. And I think all paths are beautiful. So I wanted to share a little more today about some of my experiences. That is certainly not an exhaustive, list of experiences, but a few fun ones about what's possible, and about, the fact that time and space really is just an illusion. I've experienced that now. I am pretty clear on that. So once we've experienced that, then we learn how to work with our reality just a little differently, which is fun. Then we start to get into the fun zone of working with our reality. So I hope this was helpful for you in hearing my experiences and reflecting on your path to expanded states of awareness, if that feels right to you. And I hope this helps get you excited about our conversation with Marguerite coming up. She has done extensive work in ceremony as a priestess, accessing these expanded, altered states of consciousness for the purpose of doing oracle work, bringing forth information that would be valuable to her research and her work, to validate her research and her academic work, and to embody what we as priestesses and priests and spiritual beings once embodied on this planet, living in that state of ceremony, that state of connection, that state of reverence with the divine. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with her and to share her wisdom with you. And you can also find a couple of her courses on our website. Go to the course page and you'll see her 7 Mysteries of Magdalene course and her Holy Womb Chakra course. So I've been mentioning these mantra systems, and the Holy Womb Chakra course is a great place to start if you're interested in engaging these ancient Indian palm leaf manuscript mantras. This is a system that focuses on womb clearing out the trauma that's stored in our wombs, and empowering our womb space, empowering our system with the divine feminine power of creation. So this is a foundational practice for anyone who is interested in these mantra systems. Check that out. She's done incredible work to put that together. And if you're also interested in learning more about the history of the divine feminine and the role of the Marys and Mary Magdalene in particular, check out her 7 Mysteries of Magdalene course. We are proud to be affiliates of the Seven Sisters Mystery School now, and are just thrilled to have this collaboration and bring her on the podcast soon. So check that out. Links are in the show notes below as well. And we'll talk some more about plant medicine in our next episode. I hope you have an awesome rest of your week. And don't forget to comment if this resonated with you, or if you've had any cool experiences or interesting experiences that you want to share. Share that in the comments so we can continue to get to know each other. It's been so fun engaging with all of you. Thank you for following along and being part of this journey. And I'll see you in our